Hey friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Simon Hurley Create video. Today I'm going to be making a Trifold birthday card, so let's talk about what we're going to be using. That is the Cake Maker Stencil. We're also going to be using the Dudes 2 stamp set, which is so fun. It's got those 3 heads and 3 bodies, so you can really do some mixing and matching. And then we're also going to pull in the Party Hats background stamp for some fun as well. And of course we have some stark white cardstock. I cut that piece down to 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. I have 2 of them, and I am going to score those at 4.25 inches. You will need a full sheet of cardstock to do this. So basically what you're going to end up doing is you'll sandwich them together like so. But in order to do this, you do want to just trim off just a hair, a very small amount on one side of each one of those. And you'll want to make sure that you score it first before you cut that little piece off, because that will make a difference. Alright, so once I've got everything figured out and it's going to fit in there nice and flush, we'll get started with our first panel. We're going to do some ink smushing, so I have some Clear Skies. I'm going to grab in some Over the Moon and also some Triple Berry. And we're going to spritz this with some water. I've just put this on my waffle flower media mat. And like I said, spritz it with water. And then we're going to take our cardstock, just the front panel, and we're going to squish that into it. Now, I want to stress that this isn't watercolor paper, but this will work on there. You just wouldn't want to go too crazy with the water all at once. But it does work, and these inks are reactive, which is something really cool about these inks. So if you haven't tried these inks before, they're so fun for so many different techniques. And I'm just going to keep drying that and then squishing that back into the ink that I have on my my waffle flower media mat, and then we'll heat set that. Now I'm going to take the other panel and I am going to do some ink blending on this. So I've got some tape, and I'm just kind of masking off the areas that I want. I want this to sort of look like a table with a background because I'm going to put my stenciled image over the top. We'll take that Over the Moon ink and we're going to just ink blend that all over that upper part. This is just, like I said, going to make it look like a wall almost. So I'll get that good and blended on there. And I don't care that it's not perfect. I don't really need it to be, because I'm going to do some more to this background. I'm going to squish my ink right onto my mat, and then I will grab out a paintbrush with a little bit of water on it. I'm going to flick it all over there. First I was trying to be a little careful. I didn't want too much water, but then I was like, it's just not doing anything. So I will grab in chunks of water and pull that up and splatter that all over that background. I'm also going to wipe that up, and then I'll pull in some Clear Skies, because I want to have some cohesion from the outside to the inside. So we'll do the same thing with that, splattering that all over that background, and then the same thing with Triple Berry as well. So we'll just splatter that all over the background. I'll pull off that tape, and I am going to heat set that. I did that off screen, and then I'll put my tape back on there. It doesn't go over the top of that ink super well, but enough that I can do this ink blending. So this is the Clear Skies again. We're going to bring that in, and we're going to ink blend that all over the bottom, like that will be almost like a tabletop, I guess, or whatever you want to call it. So I'll just keep blending that, and then when I'm done, I actually do decide to bring in some Remember Me ink, and I will just kind of ink blend that on the top. I wanted there to be a little bit of variation, just some, almost like some shadowing on that upper part. And it isn't a perfect blend, but that's okay, because I do plan to do some more to this background. I'll pull away my tape, and then we'll set that off to the side. I will grab a circle die, because we're going to have a window through the front of our card. So I'll grab the circle die, and I am going to put that down with a little bit of purple tape, but I always have issues with purple tape and this cardstock. Actually, anytime I do any sort of water, anything. So it does kind of tear the paper a little bit, but I will fix that by doing a little bit of ink blending over the top, because I feel like that circle is just too cool not to use. So I do have a plan for that. That's going to end up going on the inside of the card. I mean, isn't that pretty? It's got all 3 of those colors, and it'll be fine. It actually ends up working out. So here's where we're going to pull in the Party Hats background stamp. I'm going to spritz this with water a few times, and then I'm going to take my panels, my ink blended panels, and stick those right on top. This first one, it is a little bit hard to see because these inks are water reactive. You will get a little bit of something happening, so I'll heat set that till that is dry, and then I'll show you that there is a subtle bits of the stamping on that background. You can see it a little bit. So I decided to try it again with the inside panel, and it's very prominent on the blue portion. Not quite as much on the yellow, but it is definitely there on the blue, and I love the texture that it adds to that background. So that's another way to use your background stamps. Super cool. And then we're going to start doing our stamping. So I've got one of the little bodies from this Dudes 2 stamp set that I'm inking up with Memento Tuxedo black ink. I'll stamp that onto some stark white cardstock. And then you get to decide which head you want, which is kind of fun. There's 3 of them. And I'll ink up this little guy, once again with the Memento, because I do plan to do a little bit of Copic coloring. So I'll stamp that down, and then I end up stamping a balloon as well. We are going with some E31s for his skin tone. It's a little bit darker, and I like that. So we're going with this little darker skin tone. We'll start with the E31, and then we'll bring in some E33 for some shadowing and shading. And typically, as usual, no rhyme or reason as to where I'm putting it, just kind of thinking about where my light source might be and going with that. But yeah, so we'll just put a little bit of that in there, and then we'll come back in with the E31 to blend that out just a little bit. But this paper does do a pretty good job of already blending that. Yeah, and then for his hair, we'll do some E29. So it'll be a nice dark brown. And then we'll bring in some E49 for my darker shade. Love it. And then we'll blend that out a little bit again with the E29. And then we'll go in with, or we'll color his tongue with R59, and then we're going to color the balloon with some Y35 and some YR16. Blend that out. And then the shirt, we'll start with R85. I thought this matched the triple berry pretty good. So we've got the R85, and then for our darker tone, we're going to bring in some of that R56. Just blends nicely. And then once again, bring in that R85 to blend that out. His jeans are going to be B06. Thought I had that up on the screen. Turns out I didn't. And then we'll come in with some B18 and blend that out again. And then his shoe is just going to be that E49. Alright, now we're going to blend the cake. And I want it to be a chocolate cake, so I've got some GRRR ink that I am ink blending onto another white panel. I don't care that it's getting outside of the area because I'm going to fussy cut this out. But I don't want an extra candle off to the side, so I'm just going to use some more of the Over the Moon. And then we'll come in with some traffic cone for the tip of the flame. And then there's a part of the stencil that can go over the top of the candle to give it just some extra dimension. And so I'll do that with the Clear Skies. And so that's kind of fun. And then we're going to get ready to do some Glimmer paste. I just have wanted to do this since I got this stencil. So alright, I put the frosting over the top. This Glimmer paste is the Plum Spine. I'll put that away, put a little bit of press and seal on top of it, and then I'll clean up my mess. Take this to the sink and clean up my mess. And then I will come back, and then we're going to come in with some Silver Gem. But before I decide to do that, because I have to kind of overlap, and I do live a little dangerously, I am going to heat set this, but I'm going to do it on the lowest setting. So my heat gun has 2 settings. It has a hot and with air, and then the lower version is just mostly heat. So I use the lower version, and it's not completely dry, but it's dry enough that I can put this down and not feel like I'm going to completely squish that. So I'm going to do the tray using that Silver Gem. That's the cool thing about this stencil, is you can use so many different mediums over the top. You could have just ink blended this if you wanted. And then I'm going to set that off to the side and sort of let that dry a little bit. And now we're going to adhere our pieces together so that we have a tri-fold card. I'll use some liquid glue on this one panel. And then I'm going to just kind of stick those together and close it up how it would go. And then you've got a tri-fold card. I'll put this inside of my Mini Misty because I do want to stamp the word Dude at the bottom, and I want to make sure that I have a good crisp image. I'll ink that up with some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink. It's just a nice dark black ink that always seems to be very crisp when it's stamped. And then I'll kind of see where I want my image. I did heat set that a little bit before I fussy cut it out just to make sure everything was good to go. And then we'll stamp another sentiment on this inside panel that says, I made you a card. And then we're going to do our inside piece. So this is the piece, I decided I'm just going to stick that on the inside because I love it too much. I had to use it. But we're going to stamp Happy Birthday on that one. all using that same ink, and then we'll glue this down inside the panel. So we have a little bit of something on all 3 pieces that the recipient will see. And then I'll glue down my guy, and I will leave those portions that are mostly white hanging off the side so I can trim those down, because you notice I didn't color all the way to that edge. So he's going to be stuck down. His arm will hang off over the die cut circle area, but that's okay. I think that adds to the fun of the card. And then we'll glue the balloon into his hand and also just on that upper portion, so it's nice and stable. And then we're going to glue down the cake. And you could go crazy. You could add embellishments in there if you really wanted to, but I thought that this card had a lot going on already, so we're going to stop there. And that's actually going to finish off our trifold card. It's very colorful. It's a fun card. Can't wait to give this to the recipient. Did want to let you know that there are also some brand new Simon Hurley Create items. They're Christmas items. Those are in the store now, so I will link those down below if that's something that you're interested in. If you liked this video, please hit the like button and subscribe if you have not already done so. And as always, thank you for stopping by, and I will see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.